I'm gonna interrupt you because it is 10
Go ahead.
o'clock, and
Go ahead.
I'm going to give the floor back to you in just a second because that's one of the things on our list to talk about this morning is a bit of a look at the Mid-Atlantic for those of you who were there. We also have a marvelous slideshow coming up from David Seneca, which I was just getting up on what amounts to PowerPoint that I can show from here if he doesn't show it from where he is. And Kai has a slideshow as well. So that's probably heading for a full morning. But anybody else who's dying to show us something today, use your raise hand and get in queue, and we'll fit in who we can fit in, and those who we can't, we'll see you next week. We hope. I hope, anyhow. Okay, Mid-Atlantic. We went there with a Zoom cart and attempted to establish a Zoom presence. We were partly successful and partly unsuccessful. David Dilo was on the Zoom call. He might have more or less to say about it. We did sort of TV broadcast from the opening reception and the Sunday luncheon. And on Saturday morning, Bowman and our friend Ella did a great job of going around the vendors and seeing what they had in their booths and showing it all. Saturday afternoon, we were unable to get on due to I didn't understand Wi-Fi hotspots well enough is the short answer. And we got AT&T throttled us down to nothing. But I threw money at it overnight and got back online for Sunday morning. So that's the short story from my end. Would I do it again? Maybe. A couple of days ago, I would have said no for sure, but that's nothing to do with the event. The event was great. Mid-Atlantic was a ton of fun. I learned some things about my own health and my own state of what I can and can't do at this point in my life. And so I probably wouldn't take on something as stressful as that again. We haven't put any videos out publicly yet, and we won't for a little bit. I got to do a bunch of editing. We ended up with 45 gigabytes of material. It's a lot to sift through. Bowman's making a heroic job of putting together the video from the instant gallery. And the only problem with it, it's way longer than anybody's probably actually going to watch. So we're going to have to do a very careful, judicious little edit through it to make it watchable, which we're going to do next week. And then the rest of it we'll make into, I don't know, at least a show about what we did and how it went. And I haven't spoken with Mid-Atlantic about whether they want a promo video or not yet, but we certainly have the footage for that as well. So after that, who else was at Mid-Atlantic? Anything you want to say about it? Dilo, I see you there. Well, you were on the Zoom.
Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it, except for Saturday. But I'll catch it on the flip side, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was well worth it.
Did it make you wish you'd gone in person?
No.
How about that? Okay.
Here's the deal, John. For me anyway, being in Pittsburgh, $25 versus probably $1,000 to go there. Okay,
but you didn't get any demos. We didn't give you any demos.
Yeah, that's the downside.
Yeah, that was the offer that we could make. We would have given you demos if we could have, but it was not something that Mid-Atlantic felt was appropriate given their financial structure with the convention center, and I fully understand that. So maybe at another time and place. I want to say also. The attendance was good. They had 180 in person plus a bunch of spouses. We had a 20 on the Zoom list, and probably 16 was the maximum we had online at any one time. The other thing that was really a lot of fun for me, anyhow, it was coffee hours attracted people from all over the place, and there's a group of about a half a dozen guys in the middle of Long Island who never fail to watch the videos. You never see them on here. They never come to a club meeting, but they watch the videos. They came to the Mid-Atlantic. And they wanted to take selfies with me and Barry. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Anybody else on Mid-Atlantic?
I enjoyed it from over here.
Dawn, you were on as well. Dawn was on, yeah.
Yeah,
that's great.
Enjoyed that.
Hey, I got John. I can share my screen here, quick. If you, I want to show them what it looks like. That's a frame grab. You see it, I assume. I went to full desktop because I didn't have it in my normal folder. That's what the format looks like. We have a live, in this case, the person being reviewed, Doug, was in the scene as well. And obviously I was, because I was doing the pictures of what's in the lower left corner. So John was shooting the interviews or the reviewers, and I was shooting the bottom. And what we're doing is we're putting them in two windows like that. Right now, yeah, we're going to have a long video because each one went at least 5 or more minutes. But
well, we can fix that.
Oh yeah, and once John gets his good editorial sense to it, why we'll have a very enjoyable video. I was impressed with the reviewers and what they said, and it was a great bunch of stuff. By the way, you see, this is Doug's smallest. He buys a Powermatic so he can turn 1-inch things. You know how that works, right?
I'm going to stop you now. I also know though Bruce Lamb, who's on here, won the best in show in the instant gallery.
Yes.
How was the weekend for you, Bruce? You were there.
Well, that was a bit of a shock to me, but I think it was fun to meet everybody except for maybe Jim. But otherwise, you know.
Excuse me, Bruce. I'm just erasing all the footage from you. So.
Jim was like in my face, it seemed like all the time. And by the time we got to the luncheon, it was, oh, here's Bruce Lamb again, is what I heard on him. You know, the one problem with the way, and I thought it was really nice and professional the way you did going around with the phone, but that prevented the two-way communication with the other folks that were online, obviously. So that I felt was kind of a shortcoming about the way that was done. But otherwise, it was terrific how you did it.
Well, what I would do about that if I were to do it again or recommend others to do is you have to set up an occasion where you're going to communicate across the Zoom. You can't, if we just brought the sound of the big TV into the room, it would have been chaos. And we wanted to do that in the instant gallery, and you would be able to do that in the question period following a demo. You know, let's hear from the Zoomists and bring the sound into the room. But otherwise, we haven't really found a good way to do that. We thought we'd use breakout rooms, but that was like, I guess you'd need another technician to manage that. It was like more than I could get my head around it to set up breakout rooms and then help people into them. We thought we could make it happen, but we weren't good enough.
But I couldn't see you marching the cart around the luncheon. That just wouldn't have worked either. So
no, that didn't.
I'm not sure what the answer is, but I know when he asked me a few questions, I would have liked to talk to other folks too, and you just couldn't do that.
Well, the way we would be able to do that at another event is with better Wi-Fi and better internet connection. We could not establish a stable Zoom window to the roving reporter because our Wi-Fi and phone connection in the banquet room wasn't good enough. So in a future event, what you'd do is bring in the internet via Ethernet wire and then set up a router. So you had your own Wi-Fi bubble inside the room. And then you could do roving reporter on the phone and have a screen in the Zoom and talk to the people on the Zoom, and it could be a lot of fun.
Sure.
It was like wood turning. The
you learn stuff.
Teach you a lot. So,
Michael Brezo, were you talking there? Because you were muted.
The handheld thing you had for your phone, did you buy that or make it? Or I have a little holder for the phone that goes on with the 1/4-inch 20 thread anywhere. I could
yeah, we have those. Yeah, we have a lot of that.
Our
John had one. Volvo.
We have 200 megabits, so we should be able to do almost anything. You know, within a Zoom meeting, that'll be the least of our problems.
Yeah.
Movo, M-O-V-O. John introduced me to it. He had a rig, and then I bought one. The one challenge was I couldn't use the shotgun because I was the guy also interviewing, and you couldn't hear me. You could hear in front, but you couldn't hear me. So we just had to go with the camera. Actually, the learning for me was those little iPhones are just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
After John and I shot with just our iPhones, the instant gallery, and I'm editing them up like I would have done in the professional days.
No, I shot the video yesterday on the Lathe, and it's amazing. I was using 2.5 times magnification, and it's outstanding.
Yeah,
I found that the best audio monitoring and microphone that I have is these AirPods, I guess they are. I found that my Aftershocks headphones cut out inexplicably from time to time, and I just couldn't use them, couldn't rely on them. The main lesson from a Zoomist point of view, a Zoom management point of view, is simplify the gear as much as possible. Get gear that works no matter how odd it may seem, and don't fool around with stuff that's flaky because it will kill you in the middle of trying to do a live Zoom. Kai, you were online. What did you think?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed it a lot. It's great what technology makes possible, being in Germany and being part of a wood turning conference in Britain. No, sorry, in the States. So that's a great experience that I normally wouldn't have if Zoom wasn't there. So thanks a lot to you, John. And I think in future we will get a lot more coverage using this kind of technology, and it makes participation possible around the world. So that's a great thing, and then I enjoyed it. It was like being there. So
Well,
great.
Yeah,
Great to hear that.
I agree with Kai.
Kai, I would love to attend some of your stuff over there, but the language barrier for me is a problem, because I don't do as well as you do with English.
It's no problem watching people turn. You can see what they're doing.
Yeah, but I want to hear how they're doing it. So
yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, John, I'm one of those Long Islanders with the selfies, but it was a fantastic symposium. And it was, most people don't know me because I watch this religiously on YouTube, but I'm almost familiar with everybody that's on the screen. And it was just wonderful meeting everybody, and hats off to that symposium. It was fantastic.
It's a great symposium, that's for sure.
We'll be back next year.
Anybody else? Well, there you go. I had a lovely time too. So let's go to Kai first, and then we'll go to David Seneca, who has a terrific slideshow. Kai's got something technical. Go for it, Kai. I'm going to spotlight you.
Okay, I'll do. Just lower my hand and
John, make me co-host. I can't control anything.
Oh yes, I'll do that.
Oh, sorry. Just do it again. So now you should see something.
Yeah, we see turning soft metal. Let me just say something to all you Zoomists also. In between the picture of Kai to the right of his slideshow, there's a little bar, and you can drag that to change the proportions of the pictures. You can see more of Kai or less of Kai if you just drag that thing around a bit. Go for it, Kai.
Okay. I want to talk about turning soft metal on a wood turning lathe. And I started doing this to make kind of little ferrules that I put into my wooden handles for bits so that I can exchange them. They are just held with 2 screws, and that's the result. And it's all done on a wood turning lathe. So that was the first try. And then as I like doing spinning tops, I thought, well, would it be possible to turn a spinning top out of metal? And I tried that as well. First, I just made the shaft or the handle from aluminum rod that I got from a DIY store in Germany. And also this little part on the pull string I made as well.
Excuse me, Kai, what do you mean by soft metal?
Mainly brass, aluminum, so non-ferrous metals. They are rather soft compared to iron.
Thank you.
Right. So that was aluminum. The first try, I basically just rounded the ends here on the lathe, and then I turned some small spinning tops from brass as well. And I can show you how I did these brass spinning tops. I hope the video is going to work.
Yep, it's good.
Yeah, okay. So first, I use a scraper for doing this. I'm working on center and pull it along very slowly, and you get quite nice shavings. The point of contact between the tool and the metal should be rather small, so that keeps the tool or the workpiece from chattering. After doing the
Do you have a burr on that? Do you have a burr on that scraper?
Yes, there is a burr on the scraper. So it cuts better with a burr. It will cut without a burr as well, or scrape without a burr as well. But with a burr, it's sharper, works better. And if you have a burr on the scraper, you have to use the tool hanging down a little bit so that you actually get the burr to cut.
But you're cutting right at center, it looks to me.
Yeah, then you have to have your tool your tool rest a little bit higher so that you can kind of slope down your tool a little bit and then get on center line again. That's right. Yeah. So just watch the shavings that are produced. And you can work from left to right and the other way around without using too much pressure, because otherwise you get chattering. And here is a nice kind of shaving that developed. And the tool is HHS steel, so ordinary steel doesn't work that good. And then I use a smaller miniature turning scraper now to get more into the curve, which I couldn't do with the big scraper. And you see it isn't as sharp as the other one. I should have sharpened this beforehand. And then I swap the tool for a straight-ended scraper to do the shaft or the handle of the spinning top. And it's made from 8mm brass, which is 5/16 of an inch. Okay. Then I realized I had to sand the spinning top because it's rather thin now, and if you make it thinner at the shaft, you will get vibration. Please excuse my hair in the picture.
What are you sanding to? What grit?
I think that was 800 that I used there. The surface was rather nice from the tool already, so I used a really fine sandpaper for the tip. For the shaft, I think I started with 240 because I wanted to sand the transition between the round part of the body here and the shaft. The straight-ended tool here left a little step, and I wanted to sand this away. So if you have to remove material, you want to use sandpaper that is a little bit coarser. And if it's just for polishing, you can get away with the very fine sandpaper. Maybe I forgot to stop it again. Yeah, with this, I also tried not to have the whole tip touching the workpiece, but I angled it a little bit. So that is not at a right angle to the shaft, but it's angled a little bit so that mainly this corner here does the scraping or cutting. Then you get less vibration. The surface is a little bit rough, but there's less vibration. If you want to try something like this, it's nice if you've got one of these collared chucks, because you can work near the chuck and it's not dangerous. You won't hurt yourself if you touch the chuck. Yeah, that's where I used the coarser sandpaper, so I think that's 240 now. And my hair again in the picture, sorry. And And in the end, I polished it using kind of household polish that you use for brass or silverware. And that gives a really nice shiny surface.
Lovely.
And maybe you can use that technique for making little knobs for boxes or things like that as well. So it's, or maybe a tip for a spinning top, not the whole spinning top.
What speed are you turning at?
Between 1,000 and 2,000 RPM. So when it's really thin, you can increase the speed a little bit.
Yeah, it's really little.
Yeah.
You think it would be the same if I was with a 1-inch rod? Same, it would work as well?
Yeah, yeah. I made these tool ferrules from 15 millimeter rod. That's a bit more than half an inch. And I think if you lower the speed a little bit, it should be working with bigger rod as well.
No. Mike Peace had his hand. Mike, you got something you want to add to this or ask about it? You're muted, Mike.
You're muted, yeah.
Spacebar wasn't working.
Still isn't.
Would you say that lathe speed again?
Between 1,000 and 2,000 RPM
Okay.
are used for that. So you can start at a low speed and then increase it a little bit, see whether you get away with that. Normally, chatter is no problem because the workpiece is really small. It's just trying out where you get the best cutting action. And with a thin piece like that, the speed can be rather high for metal, I guess.
And were you using regular M2, or did you say you needed exotic like M42 or V10 or something?
No, it's just an ordinary HHS scraper I used. And the brass, I don't know the composition of that. I just got it from the scrapyard. So
one piece that I played around with, I had a bunch of brass knobs left over from a kitchen redo, and what I found was the outside was hollow, and you could pull it off or knock it off or something, and the bottom of it was this very nice solid piece that you could make wonderful little pulls or feet for boxes or something. So if you have a kitchen redo project and you replace the brass knobs, you got a lot to play with.
yeah. Did you use scrapers as well for working them?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember learning how to turn copper rod in school, but I guess copper is pretty much the price of gold these days.
Yeah.
I think the reason that you're having so much luck with scrapers is that if you're turning brass or copper in an engine lathe, you actually grind a -5 degrees rake into the tool. And if you have a positive rake, it'll grab it and rip it right out of the chuck. So actually pointing your scraper downhill may be the reason that it's working so well. Also, if you want a ferrous metal that is machines about like brass, there's a screw machine alloy called Leadloy AX, and it will machine just about like brass.
Yeah.
Bert, Bert, you got something to add here?
Yeah, I was going to say I've done that with brass where I had to make some soft feet for a set screw. If you put set screws and stuff, you put it in and mars the shaft. Well, I tried to find some set screws with a little brass or a nylon end on it, and they were difficult to find. So I just made some, and I just used same technique that Kai's showing there. Used high-speed steel, made the little insert, drilled the set screw out, and glued the brass tip on the set screw. And now I don't mark any of my tools when I run a set screw in anymore.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I can make as many as I need. I don't have to go looking for them. I think I've made a half a dozen so far. And it takes a little time. And the first one was an experience. But once you do it once, you learn and you move on.
I used copper sheet once to make a segmented bowl where I put thin copper between the wood and glued it with super glue. The piece is still together. So it worked. But it's like when you really think about it, if you're riding at a reasonable speed, it actually works quite well if you combine the metal and the wood together in a piece. Well, it did for me anyway.
Mike Prezzo,
Go ahead.
you're still muted. You're still muted.
Here, I'm unmuted now. I've actually done some cold rolled steel. I made some. We had Cindy Grosda. I had hosted her in a hands-on years ago, and she had some of the inserts for the one-way live center that Wayne Campbell out in Vancouver makes. And I just turned the basic taper and using high-speed steel that I buy at Busy Bee here, and I have them mounted in either 1/2 or 5/8 bar stock for turning wood, and just substituted them, and it was pretty crude, but it worked. And sometimes I finished off with a file, but I was able to do a little bit. I could show them sometime.
Cool. John Chalikian.
Yes, Kai, could you use carbide tipped tools? Did you try that?
Yes, I guess you could. I tried a homemade one with a carbide insert that I got from China, and that works as well. But I found the scrapers with a burr work even better than the carbide insert I used. So the carbide insert is great for plastics or acrylics and stuff like that. But with the brass, I found that the scraper works better. And I just used my ordinary scrapers that I use for bowls and boxes. So it's nothing special you need to have there.
Okay.
Have you got more slides you want to show, Kai? Or are we at the end of
I
it?
can show the rest of the video a little bit, and then two or three more slides, and
Okay.
that's it then.
Good.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the tool holders that you made. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I took some photos of the process, how I made the tool holders as well. Maybe I can show them another time if you're interested.
Yeah, we'll have that another time. Let's finish this
Yep.
off, and then we've got a great slideshow coming up.
Okay, just so that I broke it off then, the spinning top when it was very thin, and that's the result.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so and then just try to go on. So you can see it's spinning. It's not exactly the same top as I showed in the process of making it. It's another one that I made as well.
That's spinning on glass or mirror.
Yeah, it's a mirror.
So no friction, no appreciable friction.
Yeah, and also it spins quite long because it's got more mass than a wooden top of similar dimensions. At least if you don't use very, very heavy wood. So cherry or something wouldn't spin that long.
I know.
And I found it's getting more interesting when they lose speed, because then they move a little bit more. These spinning
It's going to
tops.
break your mirror when it lands, right?
Yeah, or is that small? Doesn't matter.
Sometime I'd like to play that in very slow motion, and as you're doing now, and see how it. Yeah.
Yeah. With tippy tops, it's interesting to watch it in slow motion, how they turn around on the top then. Okay, so just go on. And that's the one with the aluminum handle, where I kind of shape the tip and the end of the handle here. And I've got a little video how that works as well. It's very short. So that's the rough saw cut here, and it's not straight. That's why you get some chatter in the beginning. Of course, you could put a file to it first, but I was too lazy to do that. And you can turn or straighten the aluminum as well. The shavings are not that nice as they are with brass. So brass is the easier metal to work.
I see Doug has his hand up, and Doug knows a lot about aluminum.
Yeah, it's just 2 or 3 more seconds, and then this is over. And then maybe, yeah, okay. Yeah, yes, Doug?
Well, I just want to make 2 comments. Somebody made a comment about carbide tools, and I think Ernie alluded to it earlier. The reason that they may not work as well isn't because of the carbide, but because of the angle that's used on the tip, it's the carbide scraper. You often see a much sharper angle than you would associate with metal turning, because carbide is clearly used for metal turning and every day, and that's why they developed them, because wood turning isn't that big an issue. The second part with your aluminum, you're right about that one, but there are some aluminum alloys that are designed more for machining than others, and so they will chip very differently. So when you buy it, for example, if you go into the store and they get you a rod that's 1100, for example, it doesn't machine very well. But if you get an alloy like 6061, it's designed to make machining and doing that. So it makes machine a lot better than this one does, Kai.
Yeah, okay. I just got that from the DIY store, and I don't know about the composition. And what I realized is these rods that you get from the DIY store in Germany, they are not totally round. That might have to do with the production process. I think it's kind of an extrusion process. So they're
probably extruded. Yeah,
it is extruded to make the stuff as cheap as possible. You have to run it through an extrusion press, and even though the die is round, if you don't draw it or something like that, it's never quite round when it comes out.
Yeah,
you're an engineer. You can figure that one out. So anyway, which do you want, cheap or round? That's the question.
Okay, I take what is available. That's sometimes the problem.
Figure it out from there. Yeah,
you figure out what there. But anyway,
it works in the end.
It works.
Yeah. Okay, and maybe just the last slide. So to sum that up, non-ferrous metals and alloys, as for example aluminum and brass, can be turned or scraped on a wood turning lathe using ordinary HHS tools. With a burr, they work better, and the contact area between cutting edge and workpiece should be small to avoid vibration. Lathe speed between 1000 and 2000 RPM. At least that's what I tried out. Maybe you can get away with very small workpieces and higher speeds as well. And what I didn't write down here, you should work on center line, so the tool hanging down a little bit. So you have to adjust your tool rest this way. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kai. Terrific slideshow. That's we'll probably slice that out as a separate segment and post it as a show. We're going to go to David Senecal's slideshow now. It's an excellent slideshow, really interesting work. It probably will run us over the hour. I'm warning you now, and I'm not going to cut it off. This is too good. So David. I think you'd like me to show it from here, and you can say when to share when to change slide, or do you want to show it from where you are?
Good morning, everybody. I just want to start off by saying how pleased I am to join your club. I've done so because Mike Brazo told me what a wonderful club it was. I'm a member of the same guild as he belongs to in Hamilton, Ontario. I also belong to the Sarasota Woodturners in Florida. I don't know yet if I still have a home or not, but
oh boy. Are you okay with showing this, or do you need to go and watch
that's fine.
TV?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Would you like me to show the PowerPoint from here?
If you wouldn't mind, please.
Okay, I'm going to go there right now.
Okay. I just want to start by giving you a short background as to what my experience is. I started turning in 1999 because I felt I needed a project I was going to retire shortly thereafter. So I decided I need the project, and I stumbled on wood turning. So I did the normal round and brown things for many years, bowls and Peppermills and everything else. But 6 or 7 years ago, I felt that I was getting kind of stale and wasn't enjoying myself as much. So I've kindly gone over to the dark side, and pretty well everything I do now is embellished in some fashion. So the first slide here is a burial or cremation urn I did. So I guess with the stand and everything, it's about 21 inches tall. A lot of my turnings, I have these spiral carvings in it. I kind of enjoy doing that. And well, basically that's the type of the work I do most often now these days. I don't know if you have any questions with respect to that first one. This is another cremation urn I did for someone. And I have also did little musical instruments. So it's funny.
Cradled?
Sorry?
Is that urn just cradled in there, or is it?
Yeah, it's just cradled in there, yeah.
Is that wood or carved wood or metal, the base?
It's all wood.
All wood. And the hollow spiral up top is carved?
Yeah, that's just based on the work that the finials that Stu Mortimer does in the US. Yeah,
are you doing that with like Dremels or drills? What's your tools for hollowing that out?
For the finial?
Yeah.
I just use a Brad Pitt drill bit and kept drilling. I created like the line and I just drilled in from
all
I don't know what you call them.
Yeah.
Drilled into the center and then just rasps and sandpaper. And so
are you doing that on the lathe with the piece mounted on the lathe?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Once again, it's the same type of finial. As you can see, I did a lot of these spiral carvings.
What is that?
That was a jacaranda, which a piece I picked up in Florida. That's normally a pretty bland wood, so that's why I stained it and used a lot of pyrography on it.
How big is that piece?
That's probably about 16 inches tall.
Wow.
I'm going to ask a stupid question. Is that copper or is that wood?
Oh, sorry. It's all wood.
Looked like copper almost.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to go back to it.
That one.
No,
that's wood.
It's all wood. The only thing is the concave section. I use pyrography, a kind of a Molly Winton tip on my pyrography pen. And I learned this by watching a video by the Detroit area Woodturners. A few years ago, they all went, or at least 5 or 6 of them went to take a hands-on or a week-long session from Avlino Samuel, who's kind of the expert in these things, in this type of carving. And they came back to their club and they put on about a 2-hour demo, which was now on YouTube. And they also produced a thick PDF document with all the tools and the techniques and all the various steps. So I must have watched that video 25 times and read the PDF document as often. And then I tried it, and that's what the result.
This is a finial?
I'm sorry?
You go ahead.
This is another cremation urn. I seem to do a lot of these things. Well, once again, I kind of just look around the shop and I take any piece of wood and I never really know what I'm going to do when I start. I have no planned ideas, but I start turning it on the lathe and it says, oh, I got this much left and it's this shape. And then I just keep filling around till I come up with something I find pleasurable.
Next slide.
Yeah, please. Yeah. This one, the bottom is just box elder, but there was no nice red sections in it or anything else. It was pretty bland. So I started off trying to do some type of design on the surface, and that's what I end up doing. And it was so bland that I said, I need something fancier with respect to a finial. And then I started doing these fancy kind of flower finials, which the finial took me about 3 times as long to do as the actual hollow form itself.
Is that painted or dyed, or is that the color of the wood?
I just use black India ink there.
Is the yellow as well color of the wood, or paint or dye?
I just put a couple of coats as a wipe on poly on it.
Ah, okay.
Are the finials threaded, or did you just place them in there and seal it some other way?
No, they're all threaded. I buy those black brass parts at Home Depot there, the type of connections, they screw the male, female screw into each other, and then I put them on the lathe and turn them into rings like an insert. So they're all these finials kind of screw onto the top. So.
Is that metal or a plastic, those fittings? The
brass, because they're more, the reason I don't do them in plastic is when I do most of this stuff in Florida, and in Florida, you can't get any plumbing supplies. Everything is white. You can't get the black like you can, at least in Canada or elsewhere. So it doesn't look very good. So I use brass. This is a slightly smaller urn. The finial, I just turn like a kind of a cone, like an ice cream cone, slice it down the middle and then re-glued it. And you get this effect here. And I just use a red alcohol dye on it, and a couple of coats of wipe on poly.
How did you do that background?
It's a software I use. It's really a fantastic app. I think it cost me $90 a year to rent it, but I find it's just fantastic. You just put your piece anywhere on your kitchen table or anywhere, you take a picture of it, and it's kind of got this artificial intelligence type of thing, and it just removes the urn removes all the background, and it gives you about 1,000 backgrounds to decide what you want to put behind it. And I've chosen, I like this, where it's just actually, I've taken the background is the same image as of the actual urn. It's called
Great
photo.
choice.
Nicely done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What's the software called? Do you know that offhand?
I think it's called Photo Room.
Photo Room, okay.
But it's really thing.
Same thing here, same background treatment, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a carved, is that finial dyed or is that black wood in the first place? India ink?
I think that is actually black wood. It was small enough that I had a piece of black wood. It's so expensive, but I think that the one there is actually black wood.
And is that like, is the painting done with a brush, or what did you do that with?
No, actually, if you go to the dollar store, they have these balloons. The long ones are about 16 inches long and then maybe an inch in diameter. You blow them up and you twist them into animals, for the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
If you take one of those, you blow it up, not too firm. If you blow it up and you just dip the end of the balloon in your paint, and then you kind of squash it onto just touch it on the surface, and you get this kind of.
I like that.
What a great treatment.
You could also do it with your fingers.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Yes, absolutely. Well,
but not if you have a criminal record. But anyway, but you wouldn't want to. I kind of enjoy the work of an Irish turner, Max Brosi.
Oh yeah.
Wave sections. So this is not a good picture to show the wave at the bottom, but that's what I did. Pyography around the rim, and
And how big is this?
That's probably about 11 or 12 inches.
And what wood?
Let me see. I did that. That's probably, I had some rosewood, a tree. I had to cut down a tree in my yard in Florida. And so I had like a garage full of rosewood. And these were the pieces that were pretty bland parts of the tree. So that's why I kind of dressed them up a bit. So.
Is that dip cut? Did you carve that, or was that natural part of the wood?
This, no, I had to carve that. I should have had another picture, but it's a wave. If you go Max Brosi, you'll see his waves. They go up and down. So it's all
nice.
carved.
Beautiful.
This is another cremation urn I made. And there you can see where I use those brass plumbing inserts.
Yeah.
So there's an awful lot of I spent about 150 hours on this, I think. Mostly.
All carving and texturing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot, and you have to you have to turn a whole bunch of little platter or little sort of like saucers, and then I stacked them all up one on top of the other and realigned them and put it all together. And
wow,
that's the
Mike Peace, you have your hand up.
What's the size of that? What's the diameter of that brass opening?
That's about an inch. I find it gets really expensive as you get, and they're harder to find if you go beyond that. If I went to 2 inches, but I just don't want to spend $20 just to have a threaded insert. So these cost me $4 or $5. I figure that's, if I use a funnel, I can still get the ashes in it. So. Now I've started, just because these other things are taking so long, I've started to do smaller stuff like boxes. So now I do, most of my boxes are highly decorated like this now. You couldn't
How
sell.
big is it? How big is this, David?
The box itself is about, I guess, 3 inches, and you have another inch for the actual flower.
And the wood?
I buy a lot of maple baseball, the blanks they sell there.
Okay.
And I find here you can get like a 3-foot section for $20, and so I could probably get I don't know how many boxes out of that, but six boxes or something. So I find it's very nice wood to work with. Is it doesn't move very much. It's
and it's light colored, so it'll take dye and paint too.
Yeah. So once again, like I just keep trying. I just take a scrap piece of wood and I take my mini carver or something and I just play around to it till I get a design I like, and then I start going on to apply it to the maple. That once again, that's the maple. Again, the same piece.
And then the gold leaf, is that gilder's paste?
No, it's just gold iridescent paint I bought.
Okay, brush on.
In that case, I just brushed it on.
Yeah.
We have a well-known turner out in the Maritimes called Stephen Kennard. I don't know if you know, aware of him.
Yes, I've met him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, he does this type of boxes. So this is an out blatant imitation of a type of box he would do. So, but it gave me an opportunity to practice my pyrography. I'm really into pyrography a lot now, and I think I have 5 or 6 pyrography machines, and including 2 of those what do they call them, the vaporizers that our friend from New Zealand, Graham Priddle, was popularized. So
So how do you deal with the fumes? How do you avoid breathing the smoke?
Well, I bought all the necessary, those fans that suck the smoke, but I find that they're annoying because as soon as you move the piece, you keep have to adjusting the fan. So I stay out sort of like near the entrance of my garage. And usually there's a crosswind, and I sort of like sit so that I know that the wind is blowing from behind me and across and away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife still makes me take off my clothes before I come in for lunch. So I smell like a burning
wood. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is three-sided, turned three axis, multi-axis turned.
Yeah. So yeah, each side is, you can't see it from here, but each side I have a different treatment. So the other two sides would be completely different. If you looked at it, they would look completely different from that. So. I'm also a great fan of Michael Cage. And he's
our neighbor. He lives in, he belongs to Keystone Club, I think, or Bucks.
Yeah. So he's a fan of these cup burrs, which the jewelers used to use to set stones.
He was demonstrating at the Mid-Atlantic, actually. He was in a vendor's booth there.
Yeah.
Showing how to do this.
Yeah. So I use those cup burrs an awful lot. And I use them all the time. This is a Peppermill. Now, I do not do anything that looks like a Peppermill anymore, although I do make a lot of Peppermills. I try to make everything into an art piece, even everything that's functional. I try to make sort of like disguise it so that people wouldn't, when they first see it, think that it's a Peppermill, let's say, or a salt mill. So there's the top, at least part of the top, because once again, you'll see in the next photo, part of it comes off. So it's really 3 sections. So I had to turn down the regular knob there that the chef specialty mechanism had. And I have to, because the top and bottom of the knob are not the same diameter. So to get it into a hole in this little top, I had to, I first had to put it on the lathe and turn it completely so that the diameter was the same throughout the knob. So once again, like some woman says, Peppermills, geez, they don't, for women, they don't look, they look like some man is always making these Peppermills. They're not very feminine looking, and we're the ones in the kitchen using them. So
These are gorgeous. These are terrific.
Yeah. And once again, you can see I use the cup burrs a lot. And I use these iridescent paints.
Oops, I'll go back. Those are iridescent paints with a brush?
In that case, yes. Yeah. And now I kind of do a lot often in the things. I do these curved spiral curves and carving in these things, and I try to do the Peppermill with the direction of the spirals going in one direction, and then the salt mill, I have the direction, do it in the opposite direction.
They look like Japanese kokeshi dolls. Was that an influence for you?
No. Actually, I looked at this. I saw a photo of something that Terry Scott in New Zealand. Do you know Terry Scott? He's a well-known turner. Anyway, I saw he had done a vase, and it was vaguely something like these figures I have on the top. So I kind of was inspired by that. This is my latest piece. I just finished this week. I posted on WOW, and I won the cover 2 days ago for this. I've now everything I've been doing lately. I'm doing this technique that Jacques Vessery does, and Rick Cannon and those people. They all do this what they call dry brushing, and that has really made a difference, I think, in the way I use that all the time now. I think you get the nicest effects, you get nice shadows and everything. And so everything I do now is this dry brushing technique. I think
Jacques Vessery, we had Jacques Vessery on a couple of months ago, and he talked about that, and that video is posted and available too.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while. And
so you don't draw this out. You make this just by figuring it out as you go.
Well, that one I said, I don't want to have the same kind of exact same form as Jacques has. So I kind of found a form I liked, and I cut it out. I made myself a little stencil of one figure at the top there. And then I just put the stencil everywhere along the top of the thing. And then I just drew around. So I had all these ones, and then I start.
So how big is this piece?
It's about, I think it's 9 inches tall. Can people see me right now?
Yes, so I can make it. This is our last slide. Well, just a sec, David. This is the last slide, right?
Yeah, and
okay.
The rest is all. Sorry, just before we leave the slide, all the bottom is. I've been making my own pyrography tips, and so I just design a tip that gives me the particular design I like to have on the wood, and so it's so easy now to make these tips. So
I think I stopped the share. Am I right? Did I stop the share?
Yeah, but but this is the size of the.
Huh. Now turn it around so we see the cleft in it too, please. Yes. Okay.
I still want to do the interior. I haven't finished doing the interior, but
bring it a little bit back towards your face so it's a little less distorted. Yeah, that helps. Can we see the bottom of it as well? Does it stand on that point?
No.
Only in the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a beautiful piece. Okay, any comments, questions for David Seneca? I'm going to drop back to a gallery view and remove the spotlight, I think, if I can. I don't think there's any more spotlights on. Remove
beautiful.
Spotlights. There
beautiful
you go.
Stuff. My God.
I want to thank you very much, David. That's a terrific intro. The app is the photo app. Say it again.
I think it's Photo Room. Just a sec. I'll call it up.
Photo Room, he says.
I'm just gonna go to my.
Yeah. We're right on the hour, so while he looks for that, I'm going to say we'll see you all next week.
It's called Photo Room.
That's
just
right.
on the App Store.
I've just one question.
Go.
David, you talked about pyrography techniques that you learned from the Detroit area Woodturners, and talked about a video that you saw on YouTube. Could you mail the link to John so that he can distribute it to us?
Sure.
David, I do have a question. I admire the work greatly. I'm trying to get a sense of what kind of time. There's got to be a time commitment to these beautiful pieces. How long does it take to make one?
Well, I often spend at least 100 hours.
Gosh. Oh,
but it's probably a learning process too, because almost every piece I do something I've never done before, and there's a lot of trial and error and correcting mistakes, and I also, the more I go, I've got every type of tool, carving tool and everything you can imagine. Now I'm going more and more back to hand tools, because I'm 75 and I'm starting to shake. And and if you're not using those darn mini grinders and everything all the time, it's so easy to make a mistake. Then you spend a lot of time trying to hide it or correct it. So now I just do mostly with rasps, and so I have these. If you go to these microplane, they have these rasps. They're zesters type things. They sell them especially for woodworkers. and I carves out wood fantastic, and they last forever, and they cost like $10, $12, and I can go for a year, and they never get dull, and I can carve out wood really fast, and I find it almost goes as fast as using power tools, and I had less chance of mistake at my age, and I can adjust as I go along. So
one last question: do you start on a piece and finish it, or do you have multiple pieces in the shop that you go from one to the other, or do you start one and just finish it before you go to another?
well, I probably go start to finish unless I'm stuck and can't figure out how to go from point A to point B. So then I'll put it aside and then think about it for a few weeks and then come back to it.
Anybody else? Last question to David. I think I'd say
No
on behalf
question.
of all of us, that's a terrific slideshow. Go ahead, Kai.
Yeah. Great work. I admire it. Very inspiring.
Exactly right. Thank you very much, David. Yeah.
Thank you.
David,
thanks a
David
lot.
came to us from Ottawa a few years ago. He lives about 10 minutes from me. We have to get together, Dave. Now that
Yes,
COVID,
you do.
before you go south.
And I hope your place in the south in Florida survived the storm.
Yeah, well, my next door neighbor who babysits my house, another neighbor just sent me a picture of his house, and he's got a 70-foot tree crashed across his roof. So I wonder why I hadn't heard from him. So maybe
Wow.
he had to go someplace else.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And good luck to all of you as the storm comes along wherever you live. And we'll see you. Thank you for another delightful coffee hour. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
See you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Great morning.
Everybody.
Yes, indeed. Great
Very
morning
good
indeed.
morning.
Beautiful work, David.
Thank you.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.